All right, Shalom. Check the feed real quick. Good to go. All right, Shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakapadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit of the Rakapadash. All right. Quick lesson, hit the button. The horns are being shown, no more hiding. All right. So we're in that time. Quick reminder, wanted to bring this out again. Let's go ahead and open up with this video as we've seen before. All right.
This evil anti-Semitic attack is an assault on all of us. It's an assault on humanity. It will require all of us working together to extract the hateful poison of anti-Semitism from our world. This was an anti-Semitic attack at its worst. The scourge of anti-Semitism cannot be ignored, cannot be tolerated, and it cannot be allowed to continue. We can't allow it to continue. It must be confronted and condemned everywhere it rears its very ugly head. We must stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters to defeat anti-Semitism and vanquish the forces of hate. That's what it is. Through the centuries, the Jews have endured terrible persecution, and you know that. We've all read it, we've studied it. They've gone through a lot. And those seeking their destruction, we will seek their destruction. Now, when you have crimes like this, whether it's this one or another one on another group, we have to bring back the death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price. They have to pay the ultimate price. They can't do this. They can't do this to our country. We must draw a line in the sand and say very strongly, never again.
Yup. So just wanted to bring that back out as a quick reminder. Again, we are in those times indeed. All right. Real quick, let's grab the scripture before we get to the main point. Obadiah 1, verse 21, and it reads, it says, and saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the Mount of Esau. All right. So the saviors are the prophets, man. Okay. Whom the Lord has raised up in these last days to declare the judgment of Esau to his face. All right. And the prophets are judging, all right, the Mount of Esau, the government, his hegemony. All right. He is being declared by the prophets of Yahweh Shem Shai that he's going down. And there's nothing that he can do about it. Right. And saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the Mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's, Yahweh Shem Shai. So again, this is nothing new. All right. But we do understand that we will be persecuted heavily for the sake of this truth. All right. And as we see what's going on now, all right, they're passing bills and legislations to deport, any American that's speaking out against the small hats, criticizing the JOO. All right. So very, very heavy times, man. All right. Now, let me get this last scripture and we'll go to that video. But just thinking out loud, and fair use, by the way. All right, for that video. Just in case they try to get me, man, But John 15 and 18, it says, if the world hate you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. All right, as Yahweh Shai said in John the 14th chapter, the spirit of truth whom the world cannot receive because it receiveth him not. All right, so the hate from this world is expected, man. All right. Again, it's all tying into the narrative that the small hat, the 48er, is the victim. All right. And which we're going to see that in this video in a second here. But it says, if the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. Verse 19, if you are of the world will love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you. All right. So the hate is mandatory. All right. Expected. All right. This is what comes along in this truth, in this walk. Okay. The world is against this truth. The world is against Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, man. Okay. And that's all tied into that great wrath, Revelation 12 and 12. Okay. It says, verse 20, remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things they will do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. Exactly. So again, you know, nothing new, but we understand that we're very close. We're in them times now. All right, the bills, the legislations, the decrees, all the things that's going on right now, man, can't be denied. And these devils are showing their horns. All right, they've been extremely bold lately, man, and it's a beautiful thing. You know, what sense would the movie be without the the enemy boasting in his pride before he falls? You know, that's what makes the movie great. All right, so let these devils continue to stick their chests out, rip their shirt open like Superman and shit, show their hatred for Jake. Hey, let it be so. All right, because hey, pride goes before destruction. All right. Now, real quick, as I was saying, this article here is from the Daily Signal. This came out yesterday. It says Jewish community leader sounds alarm. Jewish community leader sounds alarm on security concerns for anti-you-know-what. All right, so this conference here was from last year. We'll play that here. Okay, just kind of give you an idea of what's going on now, what's playing out now. All right, let's pull it up. It's about 9 minutes, so we'll let it play through, make points.
Protects and enhances the well-being of Jews worldwide through the values of Tikkun Olam, Tzedakah, and Torah. They lobby endlessly in DC to secure tens of millions each year in public funds to support Jewish communities across the country. Here to speak about JFNA's continued work to support U.S. Jews, please welcome Eric Fingerhut, President and CEO of JFNA. He'll be interviewed by Tzvika Klein.
You're going to get bored of me at a certain point. How's it going, Eric?
It's going well with Tzvika. Thanks for leading.
Thank you for being here. So I know you don't like talking about this, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. The Jewish Federations of North America and essentially the American Jewish community have raised a lot of money for Israel. Probably the largest campaign you guys have ever done. Since October 7th. Where are we standing? How much do you raise?
So it's actually something I'm not just proud of, but enormously moved by. The total emergency funding raised by the 146 Jewish federations across North America is now $830 million.
Wow.
And the truth is, we know that the number will be whatever it needs to be, to meet the need. But what's really moving about it is that this comes from hundreds of thousands of donors across.
So it's a grassroots. It's not just a bunch of billionaires giving money.
Of course, there are major donors, but the fact that each federation is organizing the donors in their communities, putting it into collective funds, and reaching out. And the other thing about it is that because look, we don't have many rules and bureaucracy. I mean, we were able to get the funds quickly into the hands of the organizations, the communities that needed it. You know, literally on October 7th, that very day, federations that have long had partnerships with communities in the Gaza envelope were moving resources that day to the needs of the community.
What's the big number?
I'm sorry.
What's the number? How much have you
It's
raised?
over $830 million.
$830 million.
Right.
That is very.
Yeah, $830 million to cover these people, man. All right, and it's probably more than that, man. All right, but again, this is all tying to the victim campaign, right? Let me slow this down. My computer is slowing down a little bit. Bear with me. Let's see. This should be better.
Very impressive. I think you could clap if you want. I don't know. I mean, I haven't ever raised that amount of money. But I actually want to focus on internal issues. So as we spoke to Mark Rowan, the issue of anti-Semitism is a big deal. You know, women maybe hiding their necklace with the Magen David. Others actually, you know, some places see a rise of actually people buying those types of things or wearing a kippah. I know you'll always wear your kippah wherever you are, but there's a real sense of vulnerability within the Jewish community, whether young generations, public schools, universities. How do you counter such a difficult situation?
So certainly a lot of what Mark said, I agree with, particularly about the situation on the college campuses. You may know I had the privilege of serving as the head of Hillel before I came into this job. Before that, I was the head of the universities in Ohio. So it's a subject that, you know, that
you know very well,
that I care a lot about. But look, this is a huge problem. And it's going to require lots of different solutions. There's no one solution. There's public policy, national solutions. Some of you are familiar with the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which has passed United States House of Representatives, which would make the IRA definition, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition, the law of the land in America. It's got to pass the Senate and become the law.
When is this expected?
Well, we hope it's not scheduled for vote yet. Everybody needs to be contacting their senators, insisting that this passed, because then that would give us the standard against which we can enforce the anti-Semitism.
So we have a call to action.
You hear what he's saying? The different policies, laws, decrees, which will give them the power to enforce these things. All right, real quick. All right, because it's coming. All right, this is Psalm 94. Okay, we'll start at verse 16. It says, "Who will rise up for me against the evildoers, or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity?" And who's doing that, man? The prophets of Yahweh Shem Shai doing that. All right, standing up for the injustice, for the lies, for the oppression. Okay, Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, man. The righteous will stand in great boldness before the face of such that afflict them. All right, nobody else is doing that. Right? It says, "Unless the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai had been my help, my soul had almost dwelt in silence. When I said my foot slipped at thy mercy, O Lord Yahweh Shem Shai held me up. In the multitude of my thoughts within me, thy comforts delight my soul." The point, verse 20, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law?" You see that? So you have people right now that are potentially being deported, all right, for speaking out and critiquing the small hats, man. All right, you got colleges losing funding, okay, for the name of anti, you know what, man. Okay, so everything is being set forth in place for them to have the power for control, man. All right, for you to not be able to say anything. Is going back to what I was saying earlier in previous lessons about the doing away of freedom of speech and whatnot, man. Okay, so it's all came down to this point. Verse 21, it says, they gathered themselves together against the soul of the righteous, and condemn the innocent blood. And this is what they do when they have these different types of meetings, these summits. All right, when they get together, when they formulate these different laws and bills. All right, it's all to condemn the righteous, man. All right, to condemn the innocent. You see, again, mischief by a law. Verse 22 says, "But the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah is my refuge, and my power is the rock of Salakia. But the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah is my defense, and my power is the rock of my refuge. And he should bring upon them their own iniquity, and should cut them off in their own wickedness. Yea, the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah, our power should cut them off." Yeah, so eventually they're going to go down, man. All right, but these things have to happen as part of the buildup, as we are in the midst of Jacob's trouble right now, man. All right, so it's going to get more. It's going to get more harder. It's going to get more unfair. All right, but we have to go through the straight gate that's being presented before us here, man. You know, let's play a little bit more. Started me over. I guess I gotta play it through. Stop. Can't stop.
Protects and enhances
situation on the college campuses. You may know I had the privilege of serving as the head of Hillel before I came into this job. Before that, I was the head of the universities in Ohio. So it's a subject that that you know very well, that I care a lot about. But look, this is a huge problem. And it's going to require lots of different solutions. There's no one solution. There's public policy, national solutions. Some of you are familiar with the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which has passed the United States House of Representatives, which would make the IRA definition, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition, the law of the land in America. It's got to pass the Senate and become the law.
When is this expected?
Well, we hope it's not scheduled for vote yet. Everybody needs to be contacting their senators, insisting that this passed, because then that would give us the standard against which we can enforce the anti-Semitism.
So we have a call to action, actually, right?
Absolutely a call to action.
People here can actually help make this move forward.
Absolutely. It's a top priority. Secondly, we do have a huge problem on social media. I was really proud that the Jewish Federations of North America played an important role in the passage of the TikTok Divestment Act. That act first came forward because of the attacks on America that Mark Rowan was speaking of. But social media is a major purveyor of anti-Semitism.
Hey, I'm just have to keep starting it over to that point. But you heard them. They have a huge problem on social media, man. What do you think they're talking about, man? You know, the content that's going out by the prophets, man. Also, the videos all over TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. All right, people questioning, the 48er doctrine. All right, how they got the land, how they were established, who these people really are, who they go back to. All right, because this is what the fight is about anyway, for them to control the narrative on social media, to take over the internet, man. So this proves, right, Isaiah. Okay, that's Isaiah 13 all day, right? Isaiah 13:2, it says, "Lift you up a banner upon the high mountain." The banner is the word, the truth. The high mountain is America, man. Okay? "Exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles," man. The gates of the nobles are the leaders, man, the leadership, the nobility. And who would that represent on this side? All right, the elites. Amalek, small hats, man. Okay? "That it may go up to the gates of the nobles," right? The nobility, princely in rank. All right, those that have the power and authority, man. The word has reached to them. And it all happened through the internet, man. Okay, the internet was the mechanism that the Spirit of the Lord used to amplify his word, man. The prophecies, the understanding. All right, as he said, the social media has been a major problem for these people, man. You see, vibration of the prophets, man. Let's go back. We'll find our spot again. If it took me back. Oh, we're still there. All right, here we go.
Social media. I was really proud.
Actually help make this move forward?
Absolutely. It's a top priority. Secondly, we do have a huge problem on social media. I was really proud that the Jewish Federations of North America played an important role in the passage of the TikTok Divestment Act. That act first came forward because of the attacks on America that Mark Rowan was speaking of. But social media is a major purveyor of anti-Semitism. Everybody knows.
Yeah, because these people are getting roasted on social media, man. It's heavy videos that's coming out. Stuff that I didn't even remember seeing before, man. Just everything. There's just the secrets, the counsels, the everything, man. The practices, what they do. You can look this up in your own time. I'm pretty sure the majority of you people who's watching this video right now, you've seen the content. Okay? So these people know that they're going down, man.
Knows here that the numbers of support for Israel are lower among younger people, both in the Jewish community, but more specifically in the general community. That's because they're getting their information.
Right, so most people don't know this.
Media.
You're going through very quickly, but so TikTok it's not yet banned. You actually led.
We were part of a coalition, and there were others here that were the leaders of that required that the United States is required that within 12 months TikTok China either divest of TikTok so that it has local domestic ownership, or that it is removed from the apps. And it's not the point is that it's the beginning of a conversation about what social media is doing to drive anti-Semitism. But finally, Speaker, if I could just say that ultimately this is happening in every single community. It's a problem that Kanye's got 50 million followers, whatever he's got. But it's really a problem if one of those followers is the principal of the local high school, or is on the school board, or is the minister of the local of one of the largest churches, or is on the city council, or in other important civic. And one of our responsibilities, my colleagues in the Jewish Federations in every community are sort of the front. They're the first call. They're not just engaged in Jewish life, they're engaged in the life of the broader civic community. And so it's critical that we engage with the business leaders, the political leaders, the civic leaders in every single community, and ensure that they know that it's their responsibility to keep anti-Semitism out of the mainstream of civil society. And I want to say to all...
Man, they're trying to cover every damn track. This how this shows you the guilt, Amalek knows he's cooked. All right. Social media kicking his ass. All right. Let's get that in Jeremiah. Jeremiah 49 and verse 10, it says, "But I have made Esau bare." All right. These small hats have been made bare all throughout social media, man. Okay. Everybody sees what's going on in Gaza, what they're doing to the Palestinians. All right, how they're bombing hospitals, children, towns, innocent people, killing journalists, right? Everybody's talking about it. You playing the victim is not going to work. You've been made bare, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he should not be able to hide himself. You can't hide behind that banner of anti-you-know-what. It's not working, right? They're trying to cover all tracks. We're talking to everybody, man. As you heard what he said, okay? He can't escape. He should not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled in his brethren, in his neighbors, and he is not. Man, this is the end, okay? His back is literally against the wall, right? Look how hard they're going to control what's being put out there on the internet, on social media, man.
Protects and enhances the well-being.
Not yet banned. It's not yet banned. You actually led.
We were part of a coalition, and there were others here that were the leaders of that required that the United States is required that within 12 months TikTok China either divest of TikTok so that it has local domestic ownership, or that it is removed from the apps. And it's not the point is that it's the beginning of a conversation about what social media is doing to drive anti-Semitism. But finally, Speaker, if I could just say that ultimately this is happening in every single community. It's a problem that Kanye's got 50 million followers, whatever he's got. But it's really a problem if one of those followers is the principal of the local high school, or is on the school board, or is the minister of the local of one of the largest churches, or is on the city council, or in other important civic. And one of our responsibilities, my colleagues in the Jewish federations in every community are sort of the front. They're the first call. They're not just engaged in Jewish life, they're engaged in the life of the broader civic community. And so it's critical that we engage with the business leaders, the political leaders, the civic leaders in every single community, and ensure that they know that it's their responsibility to keep anti-Semitism out of the mainstream of civil society. And I want to say to all of our friends in Israel who are participating that one of the things that we know is that the more that our broader civic community, again, the mayors, the council people, the school boards, the more the business leaders, the more that they know about Israel, the more that they have visited Israel, that we've taken them to Israel, the stronger allies they are for us in the fight against anti-Semitism.
100%. And
Let me let this catch up. Hold on.
I want to kind of touch, with the short time we have, a more positive note. So my sense is, as someone covering the Jewish community, I'd say 15 years, you like calling me a bystander or whatever, right? What was the?
We count you as one of us.
Okay. The tent, as the organizational American Jewish Life likes calling it, has become broader. Right? You guys organized this huge rally. Was it close to 1 million?
No,
it was
300,000.
300,000. Sorry, it was supposed to, whatever. Okay. Hundreds of the largest, right? 100%. Next one will be 1 million. But basically, you had, on the one hand, you had Agudat Israel, which is a Haredi umbrella organization, and on the other hand, you had Friends of Peace Now calling, and they were all calling for people to come to this. So are we able to keep this momentum going where the broad, the center of the Jewish community is bigger?
Absolutely. We can and we must. The Jewish community is the most unified it's been ever. We work closely together. We talk to each other all the time, across denominations, across organizational lines. We all know this is a moment when we must be as unified as we can be. It doesn't mean there aren't some that are outside the tent. Of course there are, but it's a broad center, and remaining unified is critical. In fact, the march that you spoke of, the rally, was the November 14th. Of 2023, and this coming 1 year later, November 11th, we will be back in Washington for our General Assembly, which is, the largest.
You guys are all invited,
and we're going to have an evening of unity at Nationals Park come Sunday.
Yeah, so that's the point. So, as you saw at the bottom of the screen, all these organizations that are set up to uphold a lie. All right, that's what you call real desperation, man. All right. This is Isaiah 10:1. It says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and the right grievousness which they have prescribed." They're going back to these small hats, man. All right, they're doing anything and everything to keep up that lie, that narrative, man. But it's all falling apart. And again, as you heard them, the main concern was social media, right? Which we know, again, the times that we're entering into, right? This is Amos 8:11. It says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua." All right, so that time is coming. All right, as we started off this quick lesson here, all right, going back to what Trump said last year on May 8th, 2024, the death penalty, a proper punishment for anti-you-know-what in America, right? So, again, these lessons, these videos are not going to be on YouTube forever. Okay? They're coming to shut all of this shit down, Back in Amos 8:12, it says, "And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, Yahushua Shai, and shall not find it. Right? That's it, man. That's the time that's vastly approaching. Okay, that the Lord is getting ready to remove His spirit and to remove His word from off this this social media, this internet, man. Okay, they're gonna start finding, they're gonna start, persecuting, videos being taken down, flagged, the whole nine. Okay, as you heard, they're pushing them. They're pushing those laws. They're doing whatever they can. They have all the organizations unifying to do what they can to combat so-called anti you know what? Okay, like Elder Malcolm says, anti-semantics. Right? It says, in that day, in that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst. Right. So the time is coming, man. The Lord is getting ready to close up shop, if you will. Right. But moving on. All right. Just another point of this devil showing his horns, as we've been talking about for the past weeks now. Right. Let's pull this up. Okay. From Zero Hedge. Headline here says CNN stunned as majority of Americans back Trump's mass deportation plan. As we told you, right? These Edomites are not holding back no more. They're letting you know how they feel about you tribes, right? Let's play that real quick.
Documented immigrants. So we have slightly different questions, but these were all taken within the last month. And there's real uniformity here. That's what I really think you see. You see real uniformity. Deported all immigrants who are here illegally, 55% of the New York Times, Marquette, 64%, CBS News, 57%, ABC News with a slightly different question, 56%. So what you're seeing essentially here is a very clear indication that a majority of Americans, in fact, when they're asked this blunt question, which I believe gets at the underlying feelings, do in fact want to deport all immigrants who are here illegally. There's no arguing with these different numbers because they're all essentially the same across 4 different pollsters.
Yeah, it's a clear indication that these Edomites fucking hate you, Jakes. Okay? And the immigrants are the tribes, man. Okay? They're talking about these European immigrants, all right? It's talking about you Israelites. Okay? They want to get rid of you.
So if they say yes today-ish, how has that changed over time?
Yeah, this is where I think you get very interesting. And so we'll take a look at that ABC News question in particular, because you can really see that there's been a massive shift from when Trump was first getting into office 8 years ago, right? Deport all undocumented immigrants. You go back to 2015, I'm going to come to your side of the screen, it was 42%. Hello. Go to 2016, it was 36%. Look at where we are now. This was taken at the end of last year, 56%. This is 20 points higher than it was just before Trump got into office the first time. So feelings towards immigration in this country, feelings towards undocumented immigrants and deporting all of them have become considerably more hawkish. And I think that gives Donald Trump much more leverage to go with the American people and sort of have these hawkish, some might say harsh, different rhetoric and also issue-based sort of going after immigrants who are here illegally. And so I think the American people are going to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt to do what he wants to do, at least if you believe these blunt questions, including this one.
How about immigration levels?
Yeah, okay. So this sort of goes in line with that, right? Which is, again, trying to get at the underlying feelings. Want immigration levels decreased. This includes legal and illegal immigration. Look at this. Last year, 55%. That is the highest level since the 9/11 aftermath. You go back just to 2020.
And this, again, legal and
Illegal
illegal.
and
So they
illegal.
people want less people coming into the country.
Exactly. They want less people coming into the country. Look at that. That's a 14-point rise from 2023. You go back to 2016 when Donald Trump again was running for president the first time, it's 38%. That's a 17-point rise. So the bottom line is more folks want people who are here illegally deported, and their overall feelings towards immigration have become considerably more hawkish since Donald Trump was first getting in office, Kate. Documented immigration.
Yeah. Look at this. All right. Real quick. Man, it's about to get hectic. Hey, we've been warning you. Hey, Lord said, give them warning from me. Again, who's listening? All right. Ezekiel 35. Straight to the point. Ezekiel 35, verse 5, it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred All right, this is an ancient hatred that these Edomites have for you tribes, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, Yahweh Shemel Shai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Right. So, hey, you're Edomite, you Edomites, your time is coming too. All right. But this is happening, as you see, we're in the midst of Jacob's trouble. All right. But this is happening for prophecy's sake, man. All right. Esau is openly showing you again that that perpetual hatred. All right. Let's add a little bit more here. All right, I spoke about this yesterday at camp. This is from Salon.com. It says ICE's 175 billion windfall. Trump's mass deportation force set to receive military level funding. All right, and they said that the ICE is receiving more funding than Russia's military combined. You see, it says. So look, what is this again? The police state, martial law. All right, they're arming up these Edomites to come after Jake, man. All right, this is the real fucking deal. ICE is set to receive a massive infusion of cash aimed at building the capacity to detain more than 100,000 people. All right, and that Edomite who was all red in the face, Tom, what's his name, Tom Hallman or whatever his name is, the head of the ICE, the deportations. He said, "Look, we're trying to round up a million undocumented migrants a year." You see what's going on now, all right? These Edomites are celebrating the alligator Alcatraz. There was another article that came out that they want to set up an Alcatraz where they have bears, guarding the prisons. Okay, so this is Nero all over again, man. As we brought out the other day, he wants to live stream people getting put to death. All right, hey, this is that cruel Lord, Isaiah the 19th chapter, man. Okay, we are here. Let's read a little bit. All right, it's not a game. President Donald Trump's budget which passed the Senate Tuesday, allocated sum of 175 billion, not million, billion, towards his mass deportation campaign. More money almost any country spends on its military. And many times the estimated yearly cost it would take to end world hunger, right? Hey, that's some fucking hatred right there, man. Goodness gracious. It says on Wednesday, Senate Republicans lit a budget that would cut taxes from the wealthiest Americans while slashing services like Medicaid and SNAP for everyone else. For the White House, however, the most important part of the bill seems to be the funding for Trump's campaign to purge immigrants, right? To purge immigrants and potentially American citizens from the country. Okay? Because hey, look, you better believe, hey, they're talking about deporting you so-called Negroes as well. All right, you see what's going on with the Haitians, all right? Hey, this shit is about to get epic out here, man. But again, as I said before, eventually this is all going to lead to some type of civil unrest. Jake rising up and all hell breaking loose in these streets, man. Mass death, mass casualties. It's bound to happen. Okay, this is the clash that we've been warning you about. It says Vice President J.D. Vance spoke to this in a post on X, writing, quote, "Everything else, the CBO score, the proper baseline, the minutiae of Medicaid policy is immaterial compared to the ICE money and immigration enforcement provisions, right?" It says, when put in context, it's easy to see why this is Vance's position. The 175 billion deportation budget is larger than the military budget for any country other than the United States and China, surpassing the Russian military budget nearly 30 billion. Man. Okay. Again, he's getting ready to come down with the force, right? Revelation 12:12. All right, that's it right here. Revelation 12:12, therefore rejoice, you heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. Woe means destruction. For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. This is part of the great wrath. All right, 175 billion is going towards ICE, man. All right, the biggest military budget in history, basically, man. Okay, it says, read a little bit more. It says, to the point, here we go. It says, Salai Shai, executive director of the human rights organization Detention Watch Network, told Salon that the budget would pave the way for an unprecedented increase in detention and deportation capacity. All right, martial law, FEMA camps, detention centers, they're here. 45 years ago, quote, 45 years ago, we just didn't detain people in this way. For the most part, people were released from detention after a day or two, and they got to go through proceedings on their own while they were at home with their families or working, Shai said. Quote, since then, the scale has gone up. But this is the highest it's ever been. And they don't even have the money. All right. It says according to the estimates of the World Food Program, the funds going towards deportation would also be enough to fully fund the program to end world hunger for 4 years. Damn. It says broken down, the 175 billion top line number includes nearly 30 billion ISIS enforcement budget, 45 billion for building new immigration detention centers, right? 45 billion for building new immigration detention centers, 47 billion for construction of a border wall, 12 billion for state level immigration measures, and roughly 10 billion to reimburse the Department of Homeland Security for safeguarding the borders of the United States, among other provisions. All right, they're getting ready to lock this shit down. We told y'all, man. Okay, we'll finish out here. It says Americans have already had a preview of some of what's to come with the increased deportation budget, like on Wednesday when Trump traveled to Florida to tour a new camp being built there to house immigrants. It says the facility dubbed Alligator Auschwitz, right? The facility dubbed Alligator Auschwitz by critics is a 3,000 bed tent city and prison in the Everglades. The facility is expected to cost around $450 million a year, just a fraction of the $45 billion that the Republicans have allowed towards building new detention facilities. All right, these are those FEMA camps. The particular facility, however, is funded by FEMA funds, reminiscent of FEMA concentration camp. Conspiracy theory popular among Republicans, only this time it's real. Okay, so all of that shit you people was talking, what do you got to say now? Okay, the FEMA concentration camps are here, man. This is not no fucking conspiracy, man. Okay, the wrath is real. That this devil is showing his horns. Okay, we're in the time of persecution, Jacob's trouble, man. Real quick. Right? What's that? Revelation 2. You got camps bullshitting, fucking around. All right, not warning. Right? Revelation 2:10, it says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Hey, this shit is here, Jake. No more laughing and playing around and talking shit. It's in your face, man. Okay? This fucking devil is showing you his horns, and he's not hiding it, man. These camps are set up for Jake, man. Again, it's called Jacob's trouble for a reason. Okay? It says, it's funded by FEMA funds, reminiscent of FEMA concentration camp conspiracy theory popular among Republicans, only this time it's real. And the Florida GOP is already selling alligator Alcatraz trucker hats, among other merch. Right, and these devils continually make mockery of our people, man. You see? These niggas are selling merch and hats and shit. Okay? Trump also suggested that the new camp could be the first of many, foreshadowing a new incarceration system in the United States. You see that? A new incarceration system in the United States, a new world order. Well, I think, quote, well, I think would I like to see them in many states, really many states. Trump said this is why you have the was it the 10 FEMA zones that they've been had set up, where they're going to have these different, detention centers set up around the country. It says, and at some point they might morph into a system. All right, this is what Trump said. All right, let's read a little bit more, Salakia. This article's heavy, man. It says, in terms of total capacity, the American Immigration Council estimates that the new funding will be enough to balloon ICE's detention capacity to at least 116,000 beds, which is comparable to the total number. It says, which is comparable to the total number of Japanese Americans interned during the whole of World War II. It says, currently ICE has around 56,000 people in detention facilities around the country, with many of the largest facilities located in southern states like Louisiana and Texas. The current population in detention facilities also represents the highest numbers of detainees since August of 2019. Right? It says, in practical terms, Shah said that she expects this to mean more camps like the one in Florida. Detention capacity, Shah explained, is a bottleneck in the deportation process, with more beds, meaning that the Trump administration will be able to scale up their deportation campaign dramatically. Right? Let me get a scripture real quick. I was thinking about that in Isaiah 42, right? Isaiah 42 and verse 22, which reads, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. What people is that? The Israelites. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. You see that? And as we just read, what did it say? Let me go back real quick. What was that point that it said? That it said that the current population in these detention facilities also represents the highest number of detainees since August of 2019. And who's filling up these prisons? All right, Jake. Okay, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, Hispanics. Okay, prophecy here. Back in Isaiah 42 and verse 22 again, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey and none delivereth, for a spoil and none saith restore. See that? Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. So this is the judgment that we see playing out, man. All right? The wicked of our people. You didn't want to listen. You wanted to continue to worship these idols, call upon these different gods. Isaiah, the 30th chapter says that you cover yourself with the covering, but not of the Lord's Spirit. that you add sin unto sin. So the Lord is allowing these things to happen. Why? Because you sinned against him. See? It says, therefore he had poured upon him the fury of his anger in the strength of battle, and it has set him on fire round about, yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart. Yeah. So our people don't even consider what the hell is going on. What's happening to him, man? There's a reason for this, man. Okay, this is the judgment of the Lord. Okay, by the left hand. The wicked, man. Right? We'll finish it out. Yeah, it's the last paragraph. We'll wrap this up. All right. Shit is getting crucial, Jake. Okay, it says these last couple of paragraphs here, wrapping this up. It says, quote, I think the work we need is to make sure that this doesn't get normalized. Shah said, the conditions are terrible. The conditions are terrible, and it makes it so much harder for people to fight their cases. And it's been set up like that on purpose. The budget for ICE enforcement will likely be allocated in large part to hiring new ICE agents, the often mass agents who abduct people from American streets and courthouses. All right. And we brought that out the other day, how they're upgrading. Now they're recruiting bounty hunters, alongside with these military agents. Okay. It says the new $30 billion ICE budget, more than 3 times the previous budget, would provide for some hiring of 10,000 ICE agents who will receive a $10,000 bonus per the White House. For comparison, the FBI's budget in fiscal year 2025 was just $11 billion. Shai underscored, however, that the ICE agents themselves likely won't be the primary drivers when it comes to detaining people. Rather, it will be local police departments and their coordination with ICE that will serve as a funnel to push more people into detention and ultimately into deportation. And those who may be hoping to avoid ending up at one of Trump's new camps through resources like the popular ICE Block app, Tom Hammond, the Trump's border czar, said he's planning a crackdown, man. And the rest reads on. All right. So yeah, this shit is getting real, man. What else can we tell y'all, man? All right. Again, these devils are showing their horns and they're not hiding, man. What else? Hey, what more can we say? All right. So I'll wrap this up. I pray that this quick lesson was edifying, man. All right. Hey, these devils have declared war. Shalom.